Okay, so that is Odell Jones, a friend of his, humanizing in a way, but humanizing in a way that it's Markeith speaking, that he was paranoid, that he thought that he was the true bearer of life force in the world, that he thought really bringing us forward to his previous thought from the sister that, you know, the crackers were following him and out to get him. So I am very lucky today because I have the most amazing guest. And I'd like to bring my newest guest in to discuss this fact of humanization of Markeith Lloyd in front of this jury. And you know her well. She's been on the Law&Crime Network. Lisa Lockwood. Hello, Lisa. How are you?
Great to be here. Hi, Linda.
And in your resume, I mean, I can't, again, you are a real life superhero, and you are, you know, you're a motivational speaker. You have been in the Army. You have walked the catwalk. You have been a member of the SWAT team. You are a detective. You've been a detective. I mean, your resume is so long that we could just do the whole hour and a half, and I would love to interview on it. It's just amazing. So, but I'm going to use all that experience to ask you this question, okay? We know that Markeith Lloyd got away with not having the death penalty in this case. But he has another trial, which I assume the state will go forward on. That is the killing of a police officer who was trying to arrest him. And the police officer happens to be a black female. So let's discuss race, because it's a very real issue in this next case. Does the fact that she is a black female, does it make her harder for the defense in the future case, or easier to maybe make life imprisonment if you're the defense, or prosecution to get the death penalty?
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for the defense at all. Here is a woman that approached him alone. What kind of a threat did he really perceive? Yes, he had threats from police officers in the past. He's been through the system countless times. So does he have an untrusting nature? 100% yes. She approached and he initially said she should have waited for backup. So his disdain for police overall, whether it was a Caucasian woman, a black woman, any race, it was already relevant when he was in his initial interrogation. But the fact that she grew up in his neighborhood, he didn't know that, but went to the same school as him, he wasn't aware of that. The detectives brought that to light during his initial interrogation. It just won't bode well in the fact that maybe, if at all, he may have gotten a fair shake if he was able to have a discussion, pull away, not brandish his weapon, etc. He wouldn't be in the situation he is right now.
Yeah. Now, Liz Carter, you've been watching this with me. Now, indeed, with also Lisa, I'd like to actually have you both listen to me here. Indeed, the victims in this case were also black, okay? The testimony here was always about mitigation, about how he was afraid of white police officers. He was afraid of that the white people were watching him. He was afraid of the crackers. So I'm going to ask you both, but let me have your reaction, Liz Crotty. If indeed the victims were black here, and the police officer he's going to go on trial for killing is also black, how does it differ in terms of his mental disease?
I mean, I think when you have a psychotic episode, you have a psychotic episode. I think the problem to overcome in the two trials is one party was known to him. She had come to this situation with a gun. He defused the gun. He ended up shooting her. I mean, that's a completely different set of facts of killing a police officer and killing a police officer who had just approached him. Obviously, this guy, we've heard through his family, through himself, he's not in his right mind, but I don't know that juries will be as forgiving given the different roles of the victims in this. And I think that whenever a police officer is killed, it's always a tragedy when anybody dies, but when somebody dies just doing their job as opposed to someone who was in a confrontation with someone, it's a double tragedy, so it's a bigger hurdle.
So, Lisa, I'm going to ask you the same question when we come back, but I first want you to listen with me to this clip of Markeith Lloyd, where he discusses whether or not he is the victim.
It's fair to say that your testimony here is death of Disdain Dixon, death of the unborn child, injuries to Ronald Stewart, shots at the door where Stephanie Dixon Daniels was, Dominique Daniels was, even the text message that said, "Hope you don't make it." None of that's your fault.
That wasn't a whole text message.
Overruled.
None of that was your fault.
That wasn't a whole text message. Said that wasn't a whole text message. He's admitting just half of stuff like the news do to try to prove some point that ain't there.
The text message that said in part, "I hope you don't make it." You didn't.
That was no.
So my question to you is, none of this is your fault.
No.
In fact, you're really the victim here today, aren't
course I am.
I have no more questions.
Okay. He's the victim. Lisa Lockwood, okay, you've been a police officer. The next trial, again, I'm going to ask you the same question. The police officer is a black woman. Here, his paranoia seems to be, according to most of the testimony, was against white people, and yet he killed his lover and his own child, who was obviously of his race. Does it help or hurt him that he now thinks he's the victim, even in the arrest of the death of this poor policewoman who's just doing her job, as Liz said?
Oh, it's certainly going to hurt him, especially knowing that he had multiple opportunities to turn himself in, knowing that the police were after him, knowing he committed the crime. There was so much controversy around that. His attempts of saying that he wants Sade's parents to collect the reward out of guilt, etc. So I am in the belief of what Liz said. With a psychotic episode, maybe he transposed the idea of here's a black woman, and he thought, here we go again with Sade. I have a black woman that's coming after me and attacking me. And then he went ahead and did what he did.
Wow. So we have violence that the jury will hear against two black women. In my opinion, that's not going to bode well. That's going to be a much harder road to hoe for the defense, even though he is psychotic. But you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to take one of those real teeny-weeny quick breaks, because when we come back, I want you to listen to one of the most important witnesses we heard in this trial. That is Markeith, Lloyd's daughter.
A brain aneurysm doesn't care if you're busy. It doesn't care that you have important meetings. It doesn't care that you have to drop your daughter off at ballet and your son off at soccer practice. And if you ignore the warning signs of a brain aneurysm, you'll realize too late that the meeting wasn't that important. No meeting is. That you'll never see another soccer game, and that your daughter won't see you in the audience at the big recital. So if you suddenly experience the worst headache of your life, sharp pain behind your eye, and blurry vision, don't ignore it. Seek immediate emergency care, because your family is counting on you to take care of you. The Lisa Calagrassi Foundation, shedding light on brain aneurysms. Learn more at lisafoundation.org.
Hey everyone, I'm Jesse Weber, and this is legal news you can use. What do you do if your landlord ignores you?
That's right, we're talking about that constantly clogged toilet, the air conditioner that won't turn on, rusty bath water, or even your little friend running across your kitchen floor.
You try to complain, but your landlord won't help. Now what?
Step 1, document everything. Keep a record of every text, phone call, or conversation you have with your landlord. Since written evidence is the best, don't just email, but send written letters as well. Step 2, take pictures of the problem. If that means snapping a shot of that nasty mold, you do it. Next, you could contact state and local health and building inspectors to resolve the issue. That'll wake the landlord up. What about withholding rent? Not a great idea to do on your own. Although you may be justified, not only could your landlord try to evict you or take you to court, but you could wind up on a tenant blacklist and may not even get the issue resolved after all this. Better practice is to check whether your state permits filing a reduction of rent. Some states allow you to make the repairs yourself and then deduct from your rent. But again, why should you have to do this? What about breaking the lease, moving out, or even suing the landlord or the city in court? That may get the landlord moving very quickly. All potential options, but like everything discussed, consult with an attorney first.
By law, you have a right to live in a safe, secure, and peaceful home, and your landlord needs to understand that. Go to lawandcrime.com for more legal news you can use.
A brain aneurysm can strike you when you least expect it, plunging your entire world into darkness. But if you know the warning signs, you're much more likely to survive. If you suddenly experience the worst headache of your life or sharp, sudden pain behind your eyes, do not ignore it. Please seek immediate emergency attention. It's time to shed some light on brain aneurysms. You gotta know the information.
The Lisa Calagrassi Foundation, lisafoundation.org.
Well, we are For the Record, and we also are the Law&Crime Network, and we are discussing the Markeith Lloyd verdict, which came in earlier today about 12:30, where the jury decided not That's an NO, not to give him the death penalty. Let's listen to one of the most important witnesses, as we discussed before the break, who probably was well into knowledge about Markeith Lloyd, discussing her father and her father's interaction with her daughter. And the father is Markeith Lloyd. Kiana Lloyd may have saved her dad's life. Let's listen.
Kiana, why is your dad important to your daughter's life now?
He plays a huge role with her, especially when it comes to school. When it comes to things, well, for example, she had got in trouble in school. There's this little boy, he keeps pushing her. And you know, usually they say when little boys do that to girls, it's because they like them. And she just kept getting in trouble. And I was like, you know what, I'm telling Granddaddy. And she's just like, no, don't tell Granddaddy. And I told him. And she was so upset with me, but he gave her some advice that even me as a mom, I didn't think to say to her. And just from the way, I guess, that he sees things, and he pretty much told her, you know, you're the smartest one in your class, right? And she was like, yeah, I'm the smartest one. And he was like, well, the smart people, you know, they make smart choices, and smart choices are good choices. And he was like, and you're smart, right? And she was like, yeah. And he was like, so then you have to make good choices. And then he said, because when you make really good choices, one day you can become the president. And she said, I want to be the president. I want to be the president of the United States and America. And then he's like, well, yeah, you can do that, but you have to make good choices, or you can be a lawyer. And he said, and if you're a lawyer, then you can help your granddaddy. And she was like, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer because I want to help you. And he told her, so you have to make good choices, because he was just explaining to her that when you don't make good choices, somebody's keeping track of it. So if you try to go be the president or be a lawyer, they're going to say, oh, no, Kalia cannot be the president because she got in trouble in class that day. And she just was like, oh, like she just was really, really listening to him. And I was just like, and I wish I would have recorded it, because I was like, I did not think to say it that way. And she didn't get in trouble for a while. Now she eventually, because she is 5, and it's small minor stuff that kids do anyway. But for a while she was like, I'm gonna be the president. I'm gonna help Granddaddy. I'm gonna be a lawyer, and I'm gonna help Granddaddy watch. And that was just like, it was just like, I don't even know how to describe like how that feels.
How important is he in your life?
He's very important to me. We don't have a lot of men in our family on either side, my dad's side or my mom's side. And just how much of an impact he is just amazing. Even with my siblings, he's helped my sister. My sister's on a full ride scholarship at UConn for track. He's contributed to that. With my brother, he was having a hard time with my mom. He stepped in as a man and had a conversation with him versus the way other men came at my brother. Just the respect that he has for people and how understanding he is. My dad helped me get through a lot of stuff when I was younger because he listened to me. I think that he knew that how I felt and how I was feeling I just think that how I was feeling, he felt at some point, and I don't know when, but it was just really hard to talk to my mom for a long time.
I don't know about you, but I found the daughter incredibly compelling. Lisa Lockwood, who was watching the trial with me. Lisa, if there is anybody that can save a life, there was an innocence about her, yet an honesty. What say you?
Heart-wrenching. She seems to be a girl that does have it together in spite of what she had grown up with a family that was separated, and it appears she had siblings from another father. So yes, the fact that she is able to find the good in him and display that to everybody that's watching it, it was heart-wrenching, and it was very authentic.
What about the statements to the granddaughter that, the granddaughter who's 5 now wanted to be a lawyer to try to help granddaddy, that the statements that, smart people make smart choices, and you're smart and you make smart choices. The fact that Markeith Loyd appears to be extremely smart, and there's this like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde capacity there. How do you reconcile it? Because obviously the jury reconciled it in his favor.
Yeah, with multiple personality disorder, bipolar, there are so many different psychological issues that people have where they can show up fantastic in one way, and as you said, a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and show up in another way, explosive mental breakdowns, etc. So we wouldn't have seen that if she didn't come and testify. We wouldn't have had that side of him to share. The one thing that we are missing is his personal accountability in any of it. So that's the part that's challenging.
Yeah, and Liz, his personal accountability that Lisa so incredibly discusses, it seems to come out in the psychotic capacity that he is paranoid in these close relationships where people are out to get him. But when he's one-on-one in his family, he seems not to have that issue. Why would he be so trusting and loving to his biological family, but then you have his other family who would have been, that's Sade Dixon and her unborn child, and he was just a domestic abuser, a killer.
I mean, I think that the family does a good job of humanizing him and making him see the whole Markeith Loyd. I think the problem is that you know from his conversations with his granddaughter that he knows right from wrong. And I think that kind of plays a little bit against him, because if he knows in a clear moment right from wrong, it's that ability, and that's where the mental health component comes in. But at what point does mental health excuse homicide and a double homicide? And I think that's the push and pull in this case, because when you look at people and defendants, and they're not all bad and they're not all good, and this guy had more bad moments than good moments because 2 people are dead because of it. But the defense attorney did his job correctly in trying to highlight as much good as he could possibly. But I actually found that conversation with his granddaughter a little bit troubling, because I think it takes away a little bit from his mental health, in the sense of like, well, he really can get it. I mean, times of stress and psychotic episodes change that format, but I still think that's a hard argument to make sometimes when 2 people are dead, 3 people are dead.
Lisa Lockwood, you had here that you both had the fact that the psychosis came out, the paranoia came out, the fact that he had been arrested in the past came out because the cop testified, but you also have the humanization and the domestic violence person. So if you were in that jury room, would you have voted for death or non-death?
Well, I am an advocate of the death penalty. And everything would be taken case by case. If I had sat there during that entire jury and had all of that testimony, I would be able to make a better decision on that. However, my belief is that his daughter did save him.
You are very political, and I think very well put, because I think all of us who watched that felt that his family members cumulatively, and then that daughter coming on the stand, just showed that even in the worst of the worst of the worst, there's good. And since the death penalty is supposed to be the worst of the worst of the worst who gets the death penalty, then maybe the good took him out of that category. But you know what? We have another trial that's also out. We have the Jimmy Ray Rodgers case out for the killing of Teresa Sievers. That jury is still in deliberation. We had this verdict in, and we have so much more to talk about when we come back from our break about Markeith Loyd, and we're going to see him on the stand. Stay tuned.
My name is Sam White. About a year ago, I had a heart transplant. My life was saved on the last day that I was supposed to be on this planet. I don't know who my donor was, but that person saved my life. And now I know what a miracle feels like. It feels terrific. Having a new heart's given me time to spend more time with my loved ones, watching them grow up, That new heart gave me a new mission in life, and that is to get others to sign up to be organ and tissue donors. The most common thing I hear when I ask people why they haven't signed up is, I don't know, I just haven't thought about it. Well, why don't you think about it? Think about the life you might save or the life you might enhance. Over 130 million people have already signed up to be an organ, eye, or tissue donor. They're men and women, all ages, all races, and they have one thing in common. They want to save lives. Please sign up to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You don't want to miss your chance to save a life.
Hey everyone, I'm Jesse Weber, and this is Legal News You Can Use. The internet can be a complicated place for many different reasons, but one of the questions that seems to always confuse people is, can I use a photo or image that I find online? Let's discuss. Okay, so first, copyrights. Copyrights are all the exclusive rights that someone has in an original work that he or she created, including images. How they're distributed, seen, copied, and otherwise used is up to the copyright owner. Generally, if you created the image, you automatically own the copyright in it. Pretty cool, right? What this means is that you usually need the permission of the copyright owner before using the image. However, ask yourself the following. Are you planning to use the image sparingly, or maybe only a portion of it? Are you not going to make money off of it? Are you using it in a news reporting, educational, or scholarly context that benefits the public? Are you completely changing the image so it's unrecognizable? Are you transforming the meaning of the image, like using it in a parody? Is it impossible to get the permission of the copyright owner? Well, if your answer is yes to some or all of these questions, then you may be able to use it without permission, but that's not always guaranteed. Also, sometimes images no longer are copyright protected, meaning they're in the public domain, or the owner grants something called a Creative Commons license, allowing others to freely use the image in specific ways. There are websites that offer royalty-free stock images as well. You should look into all that too. Copyrights aside, if the image features a logo or slogan, or a person, particularly a celebrity, then other issues could come into play as well, including trademark, privacy, and right of publicity laws. I told you, complicated. So best practice is to get permission or give credit whenever you can before using an image, particularly on social media. For more legal news you can use, go to Law&Crime.com.
Can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me something. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, no thanks, not my thing.
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Do you know the signs of a brain aneurysm? The worst headache of your life? Pain behind one eye? Dizziness or blurry vision? Don't ignore it. Seek immediate emergency care. The Lisa Calagrassi Foundation. Learn more at lisafoundation.org.